because I had never been to a movie up north that was segregated. And so we went and got our tickets. And I said, well, why are we climbing these stairs? They said, because your section is upstairs. And I hadn't experienced that. So
what was that like? What was that like for you to have to
at first
find
it was like, well, nobody, harmed us. This is so stupid.
Welcome to Queen of the Yard, hosted by the two dopest ACs on the planet. I'm Tracy Lauren, a former high school homecoming queen.
And I'm Stacey L. Holman, a former Miss Dillard University.
You just had to show me up.
Well, Tracy, your high school crown is cute, but this podcast is all about the HBCU campus queens, the drama, the magic, and the mission to reign the yard by any means necessary.
Well, all right then. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Queen of the Yard. I'm Tracy Lauren, and this is my regal partner in crime, Stacey L. Holman.
Oh, hi, everybody. So excited to have you here again, and so excited to drop some legacy and some history with today's podcast. Can't wait.
But before we get into all that legacy and all that history, be a cutie and follow, like, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Queen of the Yard TV, on Facebook at Queen of the Yard, on Black Twitter at _Queen of the Yard. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find us at Queen of the Yard. And if you're ready for Queen of the Yard to become your favorite new TV series, be a hero. Contribute to our crowdfunding campaign at crowdfunder.com/Queen of the Yard. I am so excited about today's episode. We have a living legend in the house, Miss Gwendolyn G. Johnson. She is a Cleveland, Ohio native from Shaker Heights, like Stacey, and she's a proud mother of 3 children, 5 grandchildren, one of whom is here today, and 2 great-grandchildren. After graduating from Glenville High School, Miss Gwendolyn attended the historic Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee, where she majored in mathematics. Met her future husband, the late Dr. Henderson Andrew Johnson III, and she reigned the yard as Miss Fisk 1951-1952. So she got an education, a crown, and a bow. Oh, we love that for Miss Gwendolyn. Following graduation, Miss Gwendolyn returned to Shaker Heights, where she raised her family and continued her education. For over 25 years, she was the assistant vice president for student affairs at Case Western Reserve University. She didn't slow down after retiring. She worked as a museum docent at the Cleveland Museum of Art until 2020. Miss Gwendolyn is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Girlfriends. But also, royalty runs in the family. We have Miss Gwendolyn's granddaughter, Devon Johnson, who's raised in Maryland. Devon is a graduate of Spelman College, where she received her bachelor's in women's studies, public health, and reigned Morehouse's yard as Miss Maroon and White 2015-2016. She went on to earn a master's in public health education and promotion at Emory. Currently, Devon serves as a health communication specialist in the CDC's first line department, where she's committed to equitable health access, ensuring diverse healthcare professionals can utilize our training materials efficiently. In addition to her work at the CDC, Devon is a coach at Solid Core, a high-intensity, low-impact workout that challenges both body and mind. Certified as a health and wellness coach, she leads various community events to promote wellness, aiming to inspire others to prioritize their health and embrace sustainable lifestyles. Yes! Hello, ladies. Welcome, welcome.
Hi. So excited
Hi.
to have you. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, to top off, before we dig in to find out about how both of you reign the yard, we always like to do a toast and honor our queens.
Oh, yes.
Especially our amazing queen right here, Fisk, and also our other incredible queen of Miss Maroon and White at Morehouse. So here.
Here, here.
Toast. There we go.
Yeah, I'm toasting with you guys remotely. Oh my gosh.
One thing we love to do before each of our podcasts is we love to drop a little bit of history and knowledge to our listeners and viewers. So we're going to recognize Fisk. And I just learned some trivia also talking to Miss Gwen, but we're going to recognize Aaron Douglas. He was an incredible muralist, 1899 to 1979. He was a painter, illustrator, a visual educator, and he was a major figure in the Harlem Renaissance. He also has a connection to Fisk University because in Kravitz Hall, located in Fisk, they probably showcase his display of his artwork, celebrating African American history.
Yes.
And you actually,
I took some lessons from Aaron Douglas, and he was tremendous. And he was a regular visitor at my husband's mother's home and father. So he would come, just walk through the house and get a glass of water and keep walking. And also in the home, there were quite a few of his paintings that he would give to my mother-in-law and also my father-in-law, H. Andrew Johnson the second, and Minerva Johnson Hawken.
so some history right there.
That's some good history. Told you we have a living legend in the house. We're gonna get all kinds of history lessons today. I love it.
So we're going to ask both of you this question, and we'll start
Okay.
with you, Miss Gwen. Why Fisk? You're from, you grew up in the Cleveland area. How did you end up in Fisk?
Well, when I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Jewish, white, and I wanted to go to a school that had my people, and that was the place to go. I had heard about Fisk University. My older siblings, my brother was at Morehouse, and my sister was at Howard University. And of course, they wanted me to go to Howard so my sister could look after me. And I said, that's the end of that. I am going someplace where nobody can look after me but me. So that's the way it happened.
Independent woman before Beyonce came out with the song.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And as I mentioned earlier, my mathematics was my major, and I think I mentioned because of the speech impediment and all, but also drama was my minor, and I realized that I loved art because I was not a participant as far as one of the characters and what was going on. I love to do the scenery. So that's when I realized that I enjoyed art. That was my minor.
And that'll pay off
Oh, yeah.
later.
Oh,
So,
it
yes.
did, because when I retired and all my kids had gone, I went to the Cleveland Museum of Art, and I became one of the first class of docents. And that was an excellent experience, because I became familiar with art. And when I traveled, I look forward to seeing the in some cases the museums where the different artists had put their paintings, and a couple times I met one of the artists, so it was nice.
Wow.
and Miss Devon, how did you end up at Spelman?
Yeah, I think it started with first people telling me, you look like a Spelman woman growing up. And my brother, who's 8 years older than me, had some friends who had attended Spelman. And of course, they gave me all the gear. I got a t-shirt with Spelman on it. So they were already putting it into my mind pretty early that we want her to go to Spelman. So I took a college tour there my junior year of high school. And when you're young, you don't really know the differences between colleges. I was like, well, this HBCU works for me. It's an all-women's college. And Howard is funny. It was so close to home since I'm already from Maryland. I was like, I need to go someplace where I can start fresh and start to grow my wings a little bit. And so it was kind of just a leap of faith. I don't know that I really knew what Spelman had to offer until I actually got there and was able to see the network that it provided. And being the #1 HBCU, I'm like, well, that's not a bad
Not a place to start. Now, did your family encourage you? Were HBCUs ever or always a part of the conversation in your family?
Yeah, I think so. They were encouraging me to go, but not necessarily like you have to attend there. So I did apply to some colleges that weren't HBCUs, but the main one that stuck out to me was Spelman just because of the rich history. And again, when you're young, you don't really have much to compare it to. So for me, it was just, I'll go and I'll see. And I ended up loving it. So made a good choice.
Right.
And how did, starting with you, Miss Gwen, learn about Miss Fisk?
Oh,
And when did you want to become Miss
and
Fisk?
in fact, when I got there, I had heard about it, but and I wasn't really interested in doing all the work. And my roommate said, Gwen, just show up. We'll tell you where to stand, how to sit, what to say, and everything. I said, well, that sounds like a plan to me. Therefore, I will be I will run for Miss Fisk. So,
And you said your roommate was like your campaign manager.
oh yeah. Mhm.
What did she do? She was encouraging you
She
to.
was encouraging me, getting flyers together, telling me where to go, and who to see. I said, just tell me, and that's what they would do. Okay, show up at um, in the evening. You would go to a place where you could eat and so
The
forth.
canteen. Was it called the canteen?
Yeah, called the canteen. And I showed up and they said, you don't have to say anything, just sit and smile and be your sweet self. I said, okay, that's what I'll do. And so it wasn't work on my part, it was work on their part. They did all the work.
Well, listen, that's what a true queen does. Let everybody else do the work.
Okay, yeah.
Let everybody else do the work. Do you remember if you had like a campaign, a slogan or anything like that? Did you have like some kind of platform
No,
that you?
no. I did. In fact, I didn't know basically what to do. And they would tell me do this, or if they wanted to, there was an article in the Call and Post that was African American newspaper, and they had my name. And what is interesting, my sister was Miss Howard the year before. So,
Was she excited to learn that you were running?
yes,
Did she give you any, you remember her giving you any tips?
You call it tips, I call it instructions. She always gave me instructions of what to do, how to sit, and so forth. So, because she wanted the best out of me. I was the type of person that that was an important fact. I like to stay in the background. I grew up with a speech impediment of stuttering. And so I always hid. I would say hi, but that was it. So since I had the speech impediment, I minored in drama. So I could learn to speak, stand, sit like a lady, or do whatever. And I always had a love for math, because in math, you can do the work in your head and give one answer. And that's what, because of speech impediment, I had one answer. So I majored in math, and I finished all my requirements a year before I graduated. And that's when I went to art, and I met Aaron Douglas, who was at Fisk University. So I loved art too.
And Devon, when did you know, did your grandmother talk about being Miss Fisk? What did you know? When did you find out that she was Miss Fisk? And also your aunt, that she was Miss Howard?
And interestingly enough, my brother was Mr. Fisk. So we're just
Oh my God.
Wow.
the family. Yeah, so that was the first time. I'm wondering, I think I went to his pageant. That was my first time going to HBC pageant, so got my feet wet there. I'm not sure if I knew she was Miss Fisk, but she was at my pageant. So she got a
Yeah.
chance to see that, and we got to take a picture and kind of compare the two of us in our dresses. But for me, I was a part of the Spelman College dance team. And one of the girls on there, she was a junior at the time. She actually was in the pageant to be Miss Maroon and White. I was just an incoming, or I was a freshman at the time. So that was my first time seeing the pageant. And I have been dancing since I was 3. And so the stage has kind of been my life. And I remember watching her up there, and there was a bit of fear that came over me. And I knew at that moment watching her, I was like, oh, we have to do this. We have
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
It was
fear
like-
encouraged you. Fear was your motivation.
Yeah, there was something that drew me into seeing the entire room filled and people cheering her on. And that was an experience that I had never had before. But I just kind of wanted to take the challenge and see what it would be like to be up there knowing nothing about pageant life. And so by the time my junior year rolled around, one of my friends was like, Devon, I think you can win this. And I was like, really? And then my dance team, there's usually always one person from the dance team that goes and auditions to do the pageant. And so my junior year, they were like, Devon, I think it's going to be you this year that we're going to push forward to do the pageant. And so with the help of them kind of encouraging me to go and do it, I had the support and just again, the experience of seeing someone else go through the process, and they were able to help me as well. The year prior to me being Miss Maroon and White, I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I also say that they encouraged me as well. But we usually always put up a person from Delta to try and run. So they also were like, yeah, Devon, I think you'd be a good match for this. And the year before, my big number had won the pageant. So she, I just had a lot of factors that were kind of pushing me towards doing the pageant. So it all kind of came full circle in the end.
So is Spelman a pageant only, or is there voting as well from the students?
Interestingly enough, the Miss.
I'm sorry, Maroon and White. I meant to say Maroon and White. Is Maroon and White pageant only, or is it voting as well?
Only Morehouse students are able to vote for Miss Maroon and White, but Spelman does have their own pageant. So it goes both ways. You can do Spelman's pageant or you can do Morehouse, and they have either Clark people can audition to do Miss Maroon and White or also Spelman to do the Miss Maroon and White pageant. So my year was only Spelman students that auditioned, but the Morehouse brothers were the ones to actually vote.
So, okay. So at the pageant, they actually vote for you, or is there a voting before and then the pageant is a component of it?
The voting happens at the pageant. So you do campaign for a few months. They have, Morehouse has a whole campaign management system that helps to prep you. They teach you the walk. They teach you how to give your final presentation, your speech, and all of that. You get to show up at different events on campus. So it's really run by Morehouse College, the actual pageant.
Oh, okay. So you have a few months. That's a long campaign season.
Yeah.
Wow.
When is the pageant, and when do you, from the time of the pageant to the time that you start campaigning? Is it, like you said, is it a couple months? Is it a couple weeks? Is it a month? What is that time?
I want to say it was so around like maybe January or February is when they start putting out the flyer for people to come to see if they're interested, the informational meeting. And then from there, I want to say around like the March timeframe, they start kicking it into gear. And I want to say the final pageant was in April. So you kind of have to know by the start of the year whether or not you're interested to start getting things going, because, and I could share more, I'm sure we'll get into it, about my campaign process, since it wasn't as long ago as my grandmother's. So I still
Yeah, it's a few years, different.
Like
Couple years.
more, but yeah. Mhm.
It's a few years. Okay. So Miss Gwen, did you have a now was yours also a campaign or was it just a pageant? I know you just had to
It
sit
was
and look pretty.
it was a campaign, and that's when my roommates were saying, "You don't have to worry about saying anything. Just show up and be gracious." I said, "Okay, I'll show up and be gracious." So
So your campaign managers actually did all of the campaigning for you.
they
They
did
went out there and
they did everything. I said, "Listen, I'm not, I'm not interested in getting out there." Because I was shy. I was very shy, and I still had little of this speech impediment. So I wasn't anxious to get out to speak. But if I was sitting around in a very informal gathering, I didn't mind speaking then because I was more relaxed. That's
And
do
you
you
said
remember some of the things that they did on your behalf? Do you remember some of the things they did on your behalf to campaign?
to a campaign. They would go to the canteen and pass out flyers. And also, there were other people running at that particular time. And, I would see what they would do. And also, the Call and Post, which is an African American newspaper in Cleveland, Ohio, they would put my picture in there and my sister's picture because at that particular time, she was running for Miss Howard University. So just saying,
Okay.
the Gray girls from Cleveland, Ohio.
are doing big
Ah,
things on
big
HBCU
things.
campuses.
That's right.
So you
Oh,
mentioned
wow.
the canteen was kind of like
Yeah.
the cafeteria, the hangout spot.
It,
What
it
was the
was it was a hangout spot. That's where you went for the last meal of the day or a snack or what have you. And that's what everyone would show up before they would go to the library or to study or with a group. So it was sort of like a meeting place.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm.
And you
Now,
mentioned
what kind of
you have
shenanigans? Oh, sorry,
oh,
Stacey. I was just
oh,
going to ask what kind of shenanigans went on at the canteen.
or can
Well,
you
You guys,
tell us?
that
Can
you
you
can
tell us
tell
what
us.
happened?
Yeah,
Wait, what happened at the canteen stays at the canteen.
I need to know.
well, that's what a lot of young ladies and young men would seek each other out and have conversations to see if they want to continue on as friends.
Oh, it's a hookup spot.
Conversation.
Yeah.
The canteen was a hookup.
Yeah, that says the two words. It was hook up.
Uh, now, is that where you met the late Dr. Henderson Andrew Johnson III? Did you meet him at the
Yes.
canteen?
Well, let me say this. I met. I really didn't meet him, but he said,
He met her. He saw
well,
her before.
yeah.
Devon knows the story.
At that particular time, the football players came early so they could practice, and the freshmen and other people came later on. Well, the freshman was the next group to make it to campus. And he said he saw me get out the car with the wool red suit on. This is Nashville, Tennessee. It was a little warm, but that's the outfit I had. I had a red suit and a red hat and a red purse. So he said, well, you couldn't miss Gwen. She's out there, all. And this is another thing. This is the time when also transportation was segregated. And when I was from Cleveland, and when I got to Columbus, you had to switch on the train, and the whites go in one section and the blacks go to another. So when you got to your destination, my train was a little late. Therefore, I had to take a cab. I couldn't go in the bus that they provided. And so that's when I made a statement. I'm getting out this cab with this red suit on from top to bottom. And at that particular time, you had trunks, and that's what you put your clothes in, trunks. which was, and so I didn't carry a suitcase or anything like that. Everything was packed in the trunk, and that came separate. But the football players, as I was telling you, his nickname was Tubby, and he and his buddies were sitting down checking out who's coming. Is it worth it?
And clearly you were.
And here comes Miss Gwen in all her red.
No question about it. I was.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So I love that wearing that red suit was intentional though, that you were making a political statement. You were making a political statement pretty much.
Well, let me say this. My mother was a seamstress, a very good seamstress, and she had allotted X number of dollars to buy material so that we can make an outfit and she can make an outfit, besides the other stuff you buy. And Lois did what she was supposed to do. She bought several things. I bought one. So all this money that was given to us from Daddy, I put it in one outfit. Lois had a very nice selection of 2 or 3 outfits. So I didn't sort of follow the rules.
Oh, okay.
That's why she
There's a lot.
go to Howard.
That's right.
No,
There's a lot to this suit.
No,
Suit story.
my sister wanted me to go to Howard, and my parents did too, so that she could look after me. Well, I had been looked after ever since I was on Earth, and I said, I think I've had enough. It's time for me to go out on my own.
And in a red
Yes.
suit, she appears at Fisk University. There we go.
That's right. That red suit got her a future husband.
That's
So we
right.
love it.
So, no question about it.
I love
So,
it.
Devon, leading up to when you were actually doing, I guess, the campaign process of Miss Maroon and White, your sophomore year, were there any other pageants you participated in? Was there any kind of, like most schools will have, like you're supposed to be Miss Freshman or Miss Alpha, and that kind of then automatically you're like, well, they're going to be Miss Maroon and White. Were you at all involved in coordination at Morehouse or even at Spelman prior to your campaign?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing Miss Q Sci-Fi because we got a legacy of Qs in the family. My brother, my dad, everybody Qs. But I guess I wanted to preserve some of that what I would have done in the Miss Maroon and White pageant. So I don't want to give away all of the gems early on. And the pageants, I mean, I don't know how they were back then, but they are really time consuming. And my sophomore year, I misspoke. It's actually the Morehouse College dance team. So, which actually helped because I was already a part of Morehouse in some kind of way. So, in the Morehouse College dance team, they're basically, we dance for halftime at the football game. So I was already mingling with the football team, had relationships with people on the team as well. So that all helped. But yeah, I think it was just like, let's wait until it's time and then they'll see me. So I think it was kind of a surprise for some that they might have seen me dance, but we had other components for the pageant that I think really helped me to share my voice in a different kind of way.
So before we get to the pageant, kind of walk us through the events before the pageant, the campaigning. Like, do you have to go through interviews with the student government? What is that process? And then, of course, we're going to dive into the pageant.
Oh, yeah. Interestingly enough, we had let's see, it was a radio show who was kind of documenting the process. So we have they're called Coco Fab. And they awarded us a scholarship at the end to the winner. Does that sound familiar, Coco Fab? I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It does sound familiar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for some reason, they reached out my year and were like, oh, we want to document your pageant. And so fortunately, I have it all on YouTube. It has us, let's see, we have these things called Market Fridays and Hump Wednesdays, which are really big. So Hump Wednesdays are at Morehouse College. Market Fridays at Spelman. It's just a place for students to come and just gather outside of the classroom. So one Hump Wednesday, I got some of my other dance team members, and we basically did our own like flash mob. So we just came onto Morehouse campus, and they let me lead a routine and just different events like that to help bring awareness to the different queens that are running. And they also had unveiling. So they have us, all the people who are in the pageant come out, and this is when we're like a few weeks out from the pageant, and they do a full unveil. We get to say our
Oh,
Wait,
Like
like
a-
a wedding
like a
unveil?
bride- like a
this is
bride?
like a bride, surprise, this is the bride. Oh my
uh-huh.
gosh, this is dramatic.
We have glasses on. So, and we're just standing there, and then one by one, they kind of like unveil us. And then we get to
like sorority too, kind of like a
Yeah.
sorority thing.
pretty much. And we get to say our speech, our pageant speech, and which is probably the most nerve-wracking thing because you have over like, I don't know how many people, 100 people out there just staring, waiting to see like, okay, you can't mess up your lines, none of that. So that was a big part of it. But me personally, one thing that I did on my own was I went to all of the freshman dorms, door by door, and I
Okay.
myself, hello, my name is Devon. I'm running for the pageant. This is my campaign. What would you like to see from the court? What would you like to change about Morehouse? And that's what I developed my campaign around. So after hearing some of the stuff that the freshmen were saying, so that they knew that I was really trying to cater to them and not just bring my own platform to Morehouse. So, but I'm still friends with a lot of the Morehouse men that I met from freshman year, and always tell me, I remember when I first met you and you came to my dorm. So it made it special. Like I was really a part of the school.
Oh,
How
you
many-
really took, I'm seriously.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
you really put in, yeah, it's a serious
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you have to, because I mean, they take it seriously, and they'll let you know, some of our pageant directors, like, oh, so and so is in the lead right now. We've been hearing a lot of chatter. They'll tell you like the stuff that they've been doing just to keep, I'm not sure why, to keep us like more competitive or on our game, but it definitely got intense. So I was happy when it was over. I was like, yes, no more.
Well,
What
this
was
may
the
be-
most intense part with? Sorry,
Oh,
Stacey, go ahead.
Tracy, let's take a quick break
Yes.
and be a king or a queen.
Be a queen or a king. Like, follow, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Queen of the Yard TV, on Facebook at Queen of the Yard, and on Black Twitter at _ Queen of the Yard.
Devon, you just kind of left us with like a lot of interesting drama, at least that Morehouse was trying to put on you guys. How many young ladies were you competing against?
I want to say it was about 7 of us.
That's a nice
Yeah.
number. That's a good number.
Yeah.
And what was you said after campaigning, going door to door, what was your platform when you started versus when you knocked on that last door? How did it change? How much?
I was starting from scratch when I first got there, and I can only remember pieces of it because now looking back, it was a little bit ambiguous now, but it was called something like the evolution of love or something. Evolution has love written in it, EVOL, so love backwards. I was tapping into my creative juices with that one, but my pageant was centered around the fact that we are all kings and queens. And so I think that was one thing that a lot of the freshmen wanted to just feel a little bit more included as a part of Morehouse. And so I wanted to let them know you are equally as important as these upperclassmen. We're all royalty. Yeah.
No.
Okay, Devon.
Did you at any point, when did you tell your grandmother that you were running?
We had to fundraise. So I'm sure at that point,
You called grandma.
yeah, I mean, all the family, of course, I was looking for donations there because the pageant's pretty expensive from the I'm not even sure why it was so expensive, but the campaign, raising money for it was a part of your campaigning. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how family found out.
Miss Gwen, do you remember when she said, "Grandma, I need some money to run for Miss Marina White"?
No, yeah, well, not really, because Devon was always very kind and gentle. And you could, I mean, you just loved her. You just loved her. And I was so happy. She has an older brother. He's very nice. But to have a little girl as your granddaughter, that was special. So she was always special. Anything Devon wanted, that's okay. Grandma get it. But I she was a very feminine, very and yet she would be assertive. You couldn't walk over her, no, but she was assertive as well. But she was just so sweet, and so it was my sweet Devon.
Oh, well, she used that sweet assertiveness to win those fellows of Morehouse over, those
That's
freshmen.
right.
You
That's
know what I
right.
mean?
That's
So
right.
in terms of expense, I mean, how expensive the dress is the most expensive part of the pageant? What are the expenses
Well, with
involved?
my particular case, my mother-in-law said, "Sugar," she was Southern, "don't worry about a thing, because I got Miss So-and-so who's gonna make your dress." I said, "Okay." And so it was taken care of. That was so many years ago that if it were expense, I don't remember. I don't, sorry, I can't
That's
answer.
okay. Well, your campaign manager took care of everything anyway,
That
so
Well, that's
that's
true. And that's all I did was, I said, "I don't want to run. I don't want all that activity and this and that. And they said, "Gwen, just keep quiet and show up when we tell you to show up." And I have given you a
Mhm.
picture of all the other young ladies that were running for Miss Fisk. And I mean, they are beautiful. I didn't think I had a chance anyway, because they're tall, stately, and good looking, and whatever. So, and what beauty was it at that particular time? They I thought it was I didn't think I had a chance, because I was the shortest and they were tall, slender, and graceful. And
well, Miss Gwen, I saw your picture and you were a foxy lady, honey. So there is no
Mhm. They might
you
have
were
been
giving them.
gracious. Yeah.
That's all right. You were giving them a run for their money too. So, and I think it was probably a lot of your humility and the fact that you weren't just like doing whatever to win. And a lot of people see that kind of stuff. And so I'm sure that and your campaign manager did a heck of a job. So we don't know what she
well,
was
thank
doing
you.
out there,
No,
but
I
she was
don't.
doing something.
She said,
We don't
just be quiet and show up. And I said, okay. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. No,
She was out there working the rooms, raising money
yeah,
and doing all
yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And smile. That's all you have to do, smile.
Mhm.
And then,
Yeah.
what are you going to wear? And she said, "Well, come on, just smile. Don't say anything. Just smile." So,
I love it. So how did you, so you're at so they had to vote for you, obviously. You said you
yeah,
had votes.
they
Do you,
voted.
mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you remember the process of voting? Like, did they drop names in a bucket or how did that work? Do you remember the
I
logistics of
really
it?
can't. I apologize.
That's okay.
Huh,
That's all
You
right.
got a lot of
You're
members
doing great.
between
You're doing,
50 and 2024. So
well, do
Yeah,
you remember how you felt when they called your name? So
shocked.
when they,
I was shocked. And I said, "I hope they haven't made a mistake." But they would be embarrassing, but they said, just show up. So they wanted me to uh, wear a fur coat. And I did have a fur coat, but I gave it to my roommate to wear. I said, because I'm not wearing a fur coat. And I had a velvet, it was velvet on the outside and wool on the inside. So it was a reversible coat. And I think it was the gray and uh, color of orange, very sort of light color It was rich, but it wasn't, it had, so.
Was this for the parade that you
This,
had to-
and yeah,
Okay.
well, yes, and we were in a car, and I gave my roommate my coat to wear. And I told Daddy, I need another coat. Of
And Daddy got it for you?
course. Yeah.
Ooh, Miss Gwen, you are something else. That's so funny. Yes, Daddy got you your coat.
Yeah.
So, where did they hold? I guess it was. So, was there also a pageant? Did you have to
Yeah,
do a talent? You have to sing, or
no, oh,
You had to give a
no.
speech though. You had to give a
Yeah,
speech.
I gave a speech. I don't know what I said, or, in fact, they could have written it out for me and said memorize it. And I
I'm
said,
sure they, yes, they probably
yeah,
did.
yeah.
But that to me, Miss Gwen, that is says a lot. That you said that you had a speech impediment and that you gave a speech in front of a lot of people
Yeah.
and you won. To me, that is it's a great testament.
Thank
To
you.
just overcoming. It really is.
Mhm.
That's amazing. So, Devon, you talked about expense. Was the dress the most expensive part of the whole process?
I would say so. The biggest expense all in together, but I think the other ones added up, just part of the campaign. Because, and I didn't mention this, but everyone was given a color, and that was your color that you represented during the campaign.
Oh, wow.
What was
Yeah,
your color?
my color was green.
Great.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
and
worked well as a Delta, right?
they gave the one AKA red. So I was like, it's a joke, but I prefer green anyway, so it was fine. Um, but yeah, because the color was green, they encouraged us to wear that to promote ourselves. So I would say, like, I bought a lot of outfits just to go on a campus and promote my color, and that's how people showed support, by also wearing your color.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That's
yeah.
That was great.
Wow.
Responses, I'm telling you, it's so many little things. But yeah, I got little wristbands, green bracelets that I passed out to people. So all in all, yes, the dress was probably the biggest expense altogether. But we also like hired makeup artists the day of the show, so it just kind of added up. I couldn't even tell you how much. Probably wasn't paying for it myself, but
$. Yeah. So how many gowns did you have to have for the pageant? Yeah.
we had, let's see, we had a opening outfit that we wore. And then we had a business attire section, that's the Q&A, and then the gown section, and then your performance attire. So just one gown, but I had 4 different outfits that I changed into during the pageant.
Now, do you remember your question and were there anything that happened before? Like, we know some pageants where they ask questions one-on-one, and then you have the ones that you do on stage. Was there anything before that, or was everything all the Q&A?
So during our pageant practices, there was like about a list of, I want to say like 50 questions that they allowed us to practice. So they would just rotate through, and on your own time, you were supposed to come up with responses. The question I got was, how has the role of women changed in the 21st century? So, and
That's a very broad question.
yeah, and I can tell you, because I told my line sisters, I'm like, please yell after they ask the question, so I have a moment to think.
Oh my gosh.
I can wait for that to die down and get my thoughts together. I cannot tell you what I said, but it was enough. I said enough.
That is,
enough to
now how
win.
did you, that's a move. Like, where did you get that? That's, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, to be up there, because actually on the stage you can't see the audience because the lights are shining down. So yeah, it ended up not being as bad as I thought, but yeah, definitely probably the scariest portion of the pageant, the Q&A, for me as well.
Now,
And
you said that there were 7 of you all together, or you had 7 competitors?
7 altogether, and it may have been less. It may have been closer towards like 6, but yeah, it was about 6 or 7 altogether.
And what was that like? What was the relationship like with your competitors?
We were all pretty sisterly because I think that's what they wanted to see as well. They don't want to see catty behavior as a queen. And then at the very end, 2 people are going to be your first and second attendant, and you don't know who those people are going to be. So it's best to just have good relationships with everyone because you're going to end up working with 2 out of this group. So yeah, I actually think it was 6, and I ended up having the best court. I love them. We got along really well, and had it turned out any other way, it might have been a little different. So I'm really happy about that.
How did they just choose who your first and second attendants were going to be? What was that process?
The votes, whoever got
Oh, the votes.
and third amount of votes. So yeah, and it's funny because when they announced the winner, both of them end up, there's a picture of both of them like crying, and I'm just like, thank you, it's over. Yeah, I was tired. I was just like, it's over, yes. We had no sleep. There's a lot of nerve wracking getting up the night before. I think it was up to like 4 a.m. just practicing. So when that moment came, I was just like, I was smiling because I was like, no more, no more. And they're crying because they were filled with joy. And I was too, but not just yet. Different kind of joy.
More like relief.
Yeah,
Relief.
definitely.
And then you're full-time, you're in classes too. I mean, that's the thing people don't, you're a full-time student and you're expected to perform because you have to maintain a grade point average as well.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. So and it was just time consuming because again I was also dancing still with the college, and I was
Yeah.
doing stuff on campus with Delta as well. So my time was just really split between a lot of different things. So it was just like, whew, okay, I can be a normal student for the last 2 month of, well, so I thought, until we're starting up. Like now, what are you gonna do as queens? So
Right.
Gotta
Now,
follow
now
through.
the work starts. The
So
work starts.
what song did you dance to during your talent
I
portion?
a mixture of different songs, and some of these artists you may not be as familiar with, but Beyonce was definitely in there. Um, J. Cole, who's a rapper, and I actually also danced to a poem that I wrote. So that's something that I really wanted to do is incorporate some other talents that I have. My grandma knows that I think she might have a book of my poems there at the
Yes.
house. I've been writing poetry for as long as I can remember, and I was like, I need them to see this skill.
Since elementary school.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I wrote a poem and we put some music behind it, and that was like my ending piece that I ended up dancing to.
What's
And
your favorite poem that you've written? What's your favorite poem that you've written?
Yeah, let's see. I I have a few, and I actually did my first open mic a year ago. So I'm gonna go with that poem only because it's the first one that I did live. I did speak the poem at the pageant, but it was recorded. So, and that was the first time I had to learn how to do the spoken word voice because it's different than just regular speaking a poem. So, I kind of used some of those techniques. And the former queen, she was also a spoken word person. So she actually sat down with me and like rehearsed, okay, here's how you emphasize certain things. And as I mentioned, like finding my voice was a really important aspect of doing the pageant because I've always been a dancer, but never really had the chance to show some of my other talents. So yeah, that was a really big turning point for me.
and
That's
grandma,
awesome.
you were in the
Shit.
audience when all this was happening during the pageant. Was grandma was there at the pageant? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it was in elementary school, you had to write poems. And this particular teacher would have you to write, and she would make a little bulletin, and your mom would send me, and I had them all over all over the den. Every time she sent me one, I went and got a little frame to frame it, and it was all over one wall. in the den because I said, she's talented. She's a genius, you know.
Uh,
I I really I really enjoyed those. And this was in elementary school. You remember when you used to do it? Yeah.
how
So
did you feel? How did you feel seeing her uh, compete in the pageant, Miss Gwen? How did you feel
I
seeing
felt very
Devon?
proud because you know what? She was competent, number one, and there wasn't a friction against with the other people who were running. She has an excellent personality to get around people and to make them feel at ease and a part of. So there's no dissension there whatsoever. She is she is a lovely, of course, it's my granddaughter, but she has a lovely personality. She really has. Very.
So we would say that every year there's something, some kind of controversy. It doesn't have to be with your competitors. It could be external. It could be in. What was, I'll ask this to both of y'all. I know, Miss Gwen, if you could remember, what was kind of like the hiccup for you, Devon? Like something that may have happened or something surrounding the competition, anything. What was the tea your year?
Yeah, there are definitely a few. Because again, going to all women's college and also going for an all male college as well provides a lot of things. So I will say the first one was the day of the pageant. We're getting ready to go out and perform, and we had our outfits, and I was missing like we had these jackets, and mine was missing, and they were like I will remain nameless, but they thought that one of the contestants had stolen it as to like sabotage. And so this was just like, pageant about to start in 20 minutes, and I don't have the part of my outfit that we really needed. Our wardrobe was a part of the performance. And so I was like, you know what? I actually think I left it at home. So I called up my best friend, who she's from Maryland, and I was like, we got to drive back to my home. And mind you, the pageant, now we're like 10 minutes now. And I was like, get in the car. We got to go. It was raining. And so we're, safely, but like, with expeditiously driving back to my place. And there goes my jacket. And I'm like, okay, at least it's here,
Yeah.
So that was the controversy that they were like, they didn't want to accuse anybody of taking it, but I'm glad that it was just me on my end and we were able to make it back. So that was the first little hiccup. But I would say after the pageant, one thing that was a little bit difficult for me was that they expected me to look like a queen at all times. And mind you, I'm a senior, and I'm in class. So, and I had some classes on Morehouse campus. And sometimes I'm just looking like everybody else. And some of the Morehouse students apparently didn't like that I was just looking normal. Yeah. So yeah, a little
So
reaction.
did they like put stuff out on the internet, or how did you find out that they weren't like feeling your look?
Mouth, and it may have only been like 2 or 3 people that might have said it, but I know it really had affected me at the time because I was like, it's more than just the appearance. Like, I'm showing up, I'm doing events on campus, so why is this so important? But we had some guys at Morehouse that were a little bit more traditional and felt like, I had to just give queen at all moments of the day. So that was a little something that I had to work through, but it didn't hold me back too much.
You said word of mouth. That's how you said word of mouth. Okay.
Yeah,
So how did that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. Someone, just a friend of mine that was at Morehouse was like, "Oh yeah, so I heard," and then told me that.
Just like casually. Wow.
But
That's
you know
so
what? That prepares you for the future. Whatever job responsibility you have, look straight ahead. You have a responsibility, do it and move on and leave those others where they are because, that's all they have. There's so much more.
well, we call them haters now, Miss Gwen? What did you guys call them back in the day? We call them haters now. What did y'all call them?
Uh, wannabes.
Wannabes. Yes.
Okay.
Wannabes.
Yes.
Yeah, one. And and you you're moving on. You're moving on, and you don't waste time on people like that. It's life's too short. No, you move on. Mm.
Did you have any wannabes that were being negative towards you, Miss Gwen, during your reign or during the campaign or anything like that?
If it was happening, I didn't know it because I wasn't paying attention to it. Seriously. And that's what I learned to do today. And at all my jobs that I've had, a lot of times I'm the first, oh, she thinks and I said, and how are you? And keep moving.
I love it. I love it. So do you remember when things weren't segregated anymore? Do you remember what you were doing in that moment in time in your life when segregation kind of fell, even though it
I
didn't
don't
really
think
fall?
it's ever, it was overt at one time, but I think it's still there. And you have to be aware of it. I mean, let's not be blind. So that allows you to be prepared to matter. Whatever they put down, you're ready. And be very articulate, cross your legs, and have good manners.
What impact did segregation have on your schooling when you were in Cleveland compared to
Well,
when you went to Fisk?
okay. I was I lived in a neighborhood. It was integrated, but it was predominantly Jewish. And you know, I didn't have a problem. Well, if I had a problem, I didn't know that the problem was going on because I kept moving. I kept moving. And I realized with Jews, the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah that they have. And that's the time in junior high where they sort of separate themselves from other people that are not in their religion. So, things, but I knew I was going to a Black institution. I had been in white schools all my life, which was nice. And, everybody got good manners, but it's wonderful to be among your own. It's wonderful.
So when you were on campus, I'm sure you were surrounded by, people who look like you, but what about when you guys were out in Nashville? So when you weren't on
Well, let me
campus?
tell you, the transportation was segregated, and there was a bus that rode by Fisk campus to take you downtown. So you didn't have to sit at the back of the bus. And see, that was during the time when the lunch counters were the Blacks were integrating that. So all that was going on. Be alert, but don't be just stupid. You know what things are. So you don't put yourself in a position where you are you always have a buddy, someone to go with you. But it was Nashville, the South was very segregated. In fact, it was segregated. The lunch counters were just beginning, but they weren't there. And down there, it was interesting to me because I had never been to a movie up north that was segregated. And so we went and got our tickets. And I said, well, why are we climbing these stairs? They said, because your section is upstairs. And I hadn't experienced that. So
What was that like? What was that like for you to have to
at first
find
it was like, well, nobody, harmed us. It was this is so stupid. Don't they have anything else to do? That type of attitude. So I never received any pain from that. The streetcar that we went to downtown, it was all through Black neighborhood and come back. So
That's good.
yeah, it
That's
was
good that you didn't have to experience anything harmful.
yeah, no, none whatsoever. And I was a math major, but I loved art. And a lot of artists would come to Fisk and they would present their artwork. And I found a new life was through the art. Like when Aaron Douglas came, I had heard of him, and he was explaining his paintings, and all this was new to me. So when I went to the Cleveland Museum of Art, when I had retired from school and administration at Case Western Reserve, this was something new, something interesting, and I love to travel. And when I travel, I could go to different museums and Picasso Museum. There were some others that I went to, and it was great. And when I went to Africa and I went on safari, that was fun, animals and just, well, I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate that I traveled and I enjoyed it.
That's beautiful.
Well,
That's beautiful.
it is. My aunt, who was the first Black to go full-time to Case Western Reserve University, she traveled, and she used to go on the boat to Europe. And when the war started, she was in Germany, and they were trying to figure out, they stopped the train because they thought she was a spy. What Black woman would be traveling to Germany? Okay. That was my aunt. So
So you got the travel bug, but not the spy bug from her.
What was your aunt's name? What was your aunt's name?
Juanita Gregory. I mean, yeah, Juanita Gregory. She was born at the turn of the century, and they were from Alabama, and they didn't go through in Alabama to the 10th grade. And my grandmother wanted them to go further. So eventually she went to Case, and this is another thing. If you were a nurse, you couldn't be married. If you were a teacher, you couldn't be married, because if you got pregnant, your stomach would stick out, and that wouldn't be good for the children.
Wow. Wow. I told y'all we were going to get some good history today. I never heard that before. Never. Wow. So can I ask you all both about the impact of your wins? So I'll start with you, Devon. How did winning Miss Maroon and White impact your life?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say it started me on a leadership journey with myself. I think I've always been a really strong team player, but never necessarily stepped into that leadership role. Not because I was not capable, but just because I didn't necessarily have the opportunity. Well, maybe in high school in some sorts, I was captain of the dance team there. So there are moments of that, but I think I didn't really get to see it in its full capacity until after winning the pageant. So we were responsible for putting on events on Morehouse's campus. My year, we developed our first, we call it the MMW cabinet. So I got together for videographer, photographer, someone to help us with our social media. And just for me, it was just the first time that I actually started to really own that leadership a little bit more. And Yeah, I think it was healthy for me to step into that light because now, or moving past that into the working world, was able to take some of those skills with me and just know that I was capable of being in those leadership positions as well and being a team player. I can play both roles. So I would say that probably was the biggest thing, but also again, finding my voice has been probably the biggest thing because I tended to be a little bit more soft spoken, as my grandmother mentioned before. And this was the first time that I was like, okay, we get to exercise this voice. Like, let's see, what does it sound like? What does she say when she starts to speak? And that was really exciting for me, starting to put on events. And then now I'm doing coaching, health and wellness. And I think that a lot of the skills that I learned, like it kind of broke the ice a little bit as far as learning how to be in front of people and instruct a room and hold myself with confidence. My grandmother always says, you gotta stand with your hands on your hips and let them know who's boss. So, and sometimes even today when I'm coaching my classes and I'm like, okay, today I'm feeling a little bit more shaky than usual. I'm like, okay, shoulders back, head up high, like let's assume the position. So I think that that has been really great, just different attributes I've been able to pull out myself. So that was really just the beginning, just the tip of the iceberg. And I thought I was at a peak then, but to see how I've taken some of those skills and just let them evolve into something really beautiful, it makes me really excited to see where the next few years are going to take me.
So you can see from the beginning of your campaign when you first started, did you see your evolution, that love evolution? Did you see that evolution from that first day to when you actually your name was called? Could you actually chart the growth?
Yeah, I would say it was a little bit delayed. I think I didn't what can I say? I saw it more so from the beginning time when I told you I first saw the woman on the stage and I saw that. So that's really when the journey I think officially started, is me watching that and me having those nerves and being like, "Oh, you're feeling fear? We got to go tackle that." So now being in the position that I was able to actually go through, I'm like, okay, so now we know when we start to feel that bit of anxiety that like, I think we can do this, but I'm afraid, that is the sign that we need to keep going, not shy back, but keep going. And so I think what I've really been seeing is how I've been able to take fear in a way to still use it to move forward and motivate me to do more.
What about you, Miss Gwen? How did winning Miss Fisk impact your life?
Well, before I answer that, I just like to say, Devon, I feel so proud of you, all that you've accomplished, and that also you have blossomed. And I know you had an older brother, but you got yourself together and you say, hey, I am here. This is me. Take note. And that really, because you need that in all phases of life. And you're not bragging, you're just presenting. You're presenting Devon. And so, and Devon's special, honey. There's no question.
Oh,
Uh,
Miss Gwen.
but I myself, I think, what did I accomplish? I got over stuttering. And I think this was a big, big step for me because I hid behind and didn't want to come forward because I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth. So it's confidence, confidence you develop in yourself. And it's okay if somebody doesn't like you. That's okay. That's okay. Move on because there's some out there that's waiting for you. And and I think, Devon, you have proven continuously that I'm ready. Are you? So
We're
That's-
gonna take one more quick break, and then we're gonna come back and we have a couple more questions before we wrap it up. So we'll be right back.
Be a queen or king, like, follow, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Queen of the Yard TV, on Facebook at Queen of the Yard, and on Black Twitter at _Queen of the Yard.
We are back with the amazing Miss Gwendolyn G. Johnson and the lovely Devon Johnson that have been sharing their experiences as Miss Fisk and Miss Maroon and White, respectively. And so we just love to give you guys an opportunity just to say anything else that you have a burning desire to say, to tell us.
Well, I feel very proud of the fact that I have developed the confidence that I didn't have when I finished high school and overcome a lot of insufficiencies that I had, deficiencies that I knew that I have taken them and developed them into confidence as myself as a woman, and confidence in myself as a Black woman. So I feel I really feel good that I have stepped out many a time in my travels. Many times I was and that's okay. And I have lived with people in other countries. And yes, I am but I still have the confidence about myself, and I have something to offer if it wants to be received. But I feel great that my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren have developed, and they have become individuals that they are enjoy doing what they're doing with their lives. And they're being productive as well as loving other people and encouraging them to be productive and loved. That's it.
Now you were on Jet Magazine, yes, Miss Gwen?
Yeah,
Can you tell us what was that like, seeing yourself on the cover in Jet
In
Magazine?
the pages,
In
yeah.
the pages of Jet.
Well, I was in the pages of Jet. It was during the same time when my sister was Miss Howard. And so I suppose they got this thing and put it together about sisters, one Miss Howard and one Miss Fisk. We are, there's a difference of 2 years, but my sister went to the hospital when she was about 6 years old, and she didn't go to school. So we're 1 year apart as far as education. And I developed a lot of confidence, and she was there to support me, and I feel very fortunate that she was. And I had a brother, bless his heart. He was a teaser. So I had to get over that real quick because he wasn't going any place and I wasn't either. So I learned how to take teasing and grow from a situation. So, and then I had my baby sister, who is about 11 years younger than I am. And she was my live doll. And I just love taking her around and showing her off and changing her. And mother told me this when she was in years ago. You used to have these baby buggies, and I would be shoving her around and taking care of her. She said, "You can do all that, Gwen, but don't touch her, don't whip her." And I said, but, did you hear me, Gwen? Don't whip her. I don't care what she does. So, and today I just idolize her. Her name is Casma. And which is, never heard the name before. My grandmother's name is Cassie. And my grandmother's name on my mother's side is Mary. So my father took the CAS from Cassie and MA from Mary, and that's how her name was.
Put them together.
Yeah. So I'm just proud to be with my granddaughter. Watch out. Yeah.
Here she comes. Oh,
Thank you.
well, it's so lovely to have you both together. This has just really been a treat. Devon, can you tell us an interesting thing, or any kind of story? It doesn't have to be related to FIS, or anything that's happened that you'd like to share. We just love to give people a chance to share a funny story, a good story, interesting story, anything.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Well, after I left from Spelman, I was like, I'm done with dancing. Dance had been a part of my life since I was 3, and I did it up until my senior year at Spelman. And I'd stopped when I went to Emory to do my master's, and it was the worst year. I was like, I need to dance. So I would literally, in the middle of writing a paper, go take a dance class. I was like, I gotta go. And I eventually ended up starting back up dancing professionally. I had no intention of doing that, but it just kind of followed me. One of my dance teachers from Maryland ended up in Atlanta and was like, come audition for my dance company. So from there, it just kind of took off. And I actually ended up, we have a museum out in Atlanta, the High Art Museum. And I was a part of a dance company, and about 2 years ago we performed for an artist whose work was showcased in there. The piece was a tribute to one of the art pieces, and we recorded a dance piece, and it got showed in the museum. So that was like a really cool experience to dance. We did a live performance when we taped it, and then we had an actual showing on one of the days that people come in to view, a very popular day. It's like a Friday that people come into the museum, and they have like wine and all sorts of other things. So it was really cool to see myself on a more major screen. And I also got the opportunity to be in a music video through my dance team from Spelman that I was mentioning. So they needed some extra people to be in this music video. If you've heard of Anderson Paak, he was shooting a music
Yep.
video there. Yeah, and they were filming it in a high school in Atlanta. So perks of staying close to your college. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So that was my first music video that I did. I don't dance as much now, well, post-COVID, not as much, but just had some really great experience. I thought that Spelman was the peak, but it was, again, like I said, just the tip of the iceberg. So it's been really cool to have some of these other major experiences.
What was the video? What was Anderson's video that you sung?
It's called Cut 'em In, I think. Cut 'em In.
Okay.
Yeah. So you guys can check that out. You'll be able to see me definitely in the video.
Your featured. Love it.
Yeah, it was a fun. I just really always loved the arts as well. So I picked up painting a little bit during COVID, and better than I thought I was going to be. But you can learn a lot of skills when you have a lot of time to develop it. So that's been really fun, in addition to the poetry writing and the dancing as well. So still kind of dabbling in. I'll take a dance class from here and there, but mainly right now just working on my fitness, my wellness journey right now.
Well, your
So
grandmother
another
had,
Renaissance woman. We just keep
yeah.
having all these Renaissance women on here. It's amazing.
And your grandmother, like, I mean, you definitely are related on many other levels, because she's shown me some of her artwork, which is absolutely incredible. So
In fact, I showed her your art pieces in my bedroom. Okay.
So Devon, what are you looking forward to? What is next for you? You're talking about, you're working on wellness. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to in the near future and further down the line?
Me.
Okay. Well, mainly I'm looking to see where my fitness journey will take me. I absolutely love coaching. I coach at a studio, as we mentioned in the bio, called Solid Core. and it's a lot of I got to it through someone who was a dancer and did it part-time on the side. And so it's been a way to keep my body in shape, even though I'm not dancing quite as much. So I'm just hoping to continue progressing, just learning more about the body. During COVID, I would make my grandmother yoga videos so she could stay active while at home. She would ask me for little tips, and that's just something that I can see I really gravitate towards, is just helping people find the healthiest version of themselves. So I'll continue to dive into that and see where it goes to.
And Miss
Uh,
Gwen, what are you looking forward to?
Well, you know, I take each day at a time. I enjoy the art museum. I love art. I don't call myself an artist, but I like to see what people can create. And I think just like Devon, she's been creative in a lot of areas. I enjoy doing what I can. It's limited, but the art museum, Cleveland Museum of Art, I go there after church, and I enjoy that. I walk every day, and the reason why I walk, because my mother lived to be 100, and I walked her every day, and so she got tired. She said, "When I'm ready to go," I said, "Okay, Mom," and then boop, Mom was gone. So these are things that I did with my mother. I think about doing it now because uh, when she was my age, I used to do a lot. That was my responsibility. My sister took care of the books, all the financial, and I took her to see Whoopi and all those other fun movies.
Okay.
And walking, and walking, and she says, if you round negative people just say how do and keep going.
That's good advice. Gotta
So
keep
that must be the key to a long life. Walk and avoid negative people, Miss
Yes.
Gwen. Is that
how
the
do
key?
and how do.
And
And
how to?
how do you expect your golf swing to improve?
Oh, I play for fun, and I go out by myself and I play most of the time a par three, and just look at the sky, breathe fresh air, and keep going. And I do have a group that sometimes I play with, but mainly I play by myself, because if I feel like playing, then I get up and go. So,
So I have one last question. My question is, how important is it for the HBCU Campus Queen pageant competition across the board to continue? So,
I think-
Devon,
oh, okay.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Miss Gwen.
I think it's very important because you have a chance to extend yourself, not just for the immediate environment that you're in. And as you grow older, you look at different position, jobs, responsibility that you can get. And all that is a part of growing. And find something that you love and do it. And also go back to school. I mean, if it's a course that you think can extend yourself, or this is something I always wanted to do, well, do it. Do it. And you have time to do it as long as you're walking and just enjoying life. So there's no definite age you're supposed to stop this and stop that. No. So Devon's gonna be like me.
Very good advice. Yes, Devon. So how important do you think the HBCU Campus Queen competitions across the board is to the culture?
Yeah. I mean, it created one of the best experiences for me from my college experience. We actually got to go to a conference, an HBCU Kings and Queens conference. They also invited SGA from all the different HBCUs. And it was just a beautiful moment to connect with so many like-minded people. made a lot of great friends from doing that. And the network still continues. We all still support each other even now. So not only is it helping you to learn more about yourself, but also connect to your school a little bit more. I have a deep love for Morehouse just from the experience, the people that I met, like I mentioned, going door to door and meeting the freshmen. A lot of times you only get to meet the people in your immediate circle, or maybe you have a class with each other, but doing the pageant experience connected me to the school in a way that it wouldn't have if I didn't do it. So I definitely think even just the experience itself, I'm all about challenging yourself in whatever capacity, if that's overcoming a fear that you might have, like my grandmother, her speech impediment, like just doing something that's really going to stretch you in ways so that you can keep evolving. So extremely important.
Oh, thank you. And so real quick, do you want to tell us how we can find you, your social media handles, how
Or
folks
do you want
can,
to be found?
oh, do you want to be found? Right. If not,
Yeah, definitely. I have a health and wellness page that I'm active on. It's dmj.healthwellness. And that's where you can find me.
all right. Well, thank you, ladies. You
Been great.
have
A
been
legacy.
amazing. A legacy. This has been awesome. Well, do you have an Instagram page, Miss Gwen? Do we need to?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You know what? I love what you ladies are doing. And I think spreading this love information to others, it means a lot. And they'll say, well, maybe I can do that. You need personalities that are going to be leaders that you can follow. And so thank you. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been so lovely. And this is Queen of the Yard. I'm Tracy Lauren.
And I'm Stacey L. Holman.
Bye.
Be a queen or a king. Like, follow, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Queen of the Yard TV, on Facebook at Queen of the Yard, and on Black Twitter at _Queen of the Yard. Support our crowdfunding campaign to make Queen of the Yard a hit TV series at crowdfunder.com/Queen of the Yard.